welcome to the Dreamlands for some more Deserts of Kharak multiplayer. This time it's going to be a 2v2. The map is Firebase Kriil, and we've got a pretty damn good one. At least I remember it being good. This replay has been sitting in my folder for several months, and as I am just flooded with replays to cast, I've never gotten around to doing it, but I remember it being very good, as you may judge from the players involved. So, let's do the usual. You guys know how it's going to be. We're going to do player introductions and jump into the action once we get our bearings here. So we're going to be on Firebase Kriil, and we are going to be on the south side. It is going to be, I need to see the extraction zones, Team 2. Alright, so south side, Team 2. Player 1, it is going to be myself, aka Last Rites, your host and narrator, and I'm going to be playing as the Soban. I don't really remember what I'm going to do this game because it's been so darn long. I just remember this one being really long and very, very close and a big time slugfest. So hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to be pretty cool. Myself playing as the Soban. My ally spawning as the Coalition. It is going to be none other than Greppy, player that anyone in this scene is familiar with. Very, very solid player. Dominated the competitive scene in the early days. So this should be pretty cool. Now our opponents, spawning on the north side of the map. Two very solid players in their own right. It is going to be player 1 for Team 1, Matthias, playing as the Galzian. I think he's the Galzian player. Yes, he is. Matthias playing as the Galzian in a pretty interesting color scheme, yellow and white. And his ally spawning directly beside him, it is going to be Elusive Man, playing as the Soban. I think this may be his first time appearing on my channel, but he is a very good player, so should be pretty exciting to see. Let's see what's going on. For builds, if I remember correctly, both Greppy and I have gone for support cruiser first, saturated our main, brought our carriers forward, and are beginning to mine resources from our first expansion site. This map is very, very good for this type of build because you can bring your carrier forward and defend this entire choke point. So that's pretty nice, and especially playing as the Soban, that's a boon. Tight chokes like this. What is going on for Team 2? We have got a bunch of early LAVs on the field for Elusive Man, with armor upgrades as well. So pretty nice timing attack. Elusive Man has also grabbed a very early artifact with his base runner. Matthias looks to have support or production cruiser refinery mode up. Does he? Yes, he does. And he is mining from his, he has saturated his main and saturated his first wreck bulkhead. So an economic opener from Matthias. Myself, I have teched directly into railguns, and I'm going to abuse the terrain on this map to set up some railguns here, set up some railguns here, set up some railguns right here, and support them with armed logistics modules. I've currently got AAV fabrication on the way. I have spotted the LAVs going through mid due to Greppy's probe. Long hauling resources from his first wreck bulkhead is Elusive Man, a little bit lagging behind on economy because he has decided to go for 6 LAVs on the map with armor upgrades. So that's pretty nice. They are going to attempt to escort this base runner in for an early artifact grab. I have recycled my base runner, as has Greppy. Nice little scout coming in here from Matthias. Got a single sand skimmer on the field to do a bit of scouting. And as is typical for this map, it's pretty easy to go with economic openers and camp out a little bit. So not too surprising to see the action take a little bit longer to get underway. No upgrades yet for my units. We've got a bunch of AAVs on the field for Greppy. He's going to split them nicely, cover both sides of the map, and actually open pretty damn greedy. He is long hauling already from his third, almost fully saturated. So going very economic heavy. Look at this. He has got a second support cruiser. So Greppy, in true Greppy fashion, is going to open with double support cruiser. And I'm going to tech directly to railguns, get a second support cruiser on the field on the back of that, and bring my carrier out and try and get a greedy third myself.
Enemy contact on sensors.
Looks like we're not going to be able to shut down Elusive Man's base runner, so Team 1 is going to take an early 1-0 lead. And we do have some assault ships on the field now for Matthias. No armor upgrades. 3 of them. He is long hauling from his third already, so Matthias, myself, and Greppy being super greedy, which is something that you can do on this map, as I mentioned already, especially if you take good use of the terrain. See the way that the terrain on this map works. I've got my railguns here, and forward railguns up here, protected with some AAVs and some armed logistics modules. That's going to be a pretty damn nice position for me. Second production cruiser hits the field now for Matthias, as well as some missile ships. So perhaps he's anticipating a little bit of the typical AAV into strike fighter build, which is currently not the case. Now I have grabbed a artifact from mid. I wanted to not let us get too far behind in terms of artifacts, and neither myself nor Greppy have teched to air currently. Oh, very nice mortar. Unfortunately, it is not going to do that much damage to these assault ships, which now have an armor upgrade, compared to Greppy's 2 armor upgrades for his AAVs. A little bit of a desperation targeting jammer. That's going to buy a little bit of time for my base runner, but is it going to be enough time? The answer is probably no. A ton of damage coming out, but a very clutch smoke from Greppy going to allow my base runner to survive. So nicely played, but he's going to start eating railgun shots now. Elusive Man has moved out onto the left side of the map with a nice screen of LAVs and some railguns backing that up. They're going to take my base runner down, clean up this targeting jammer, and it looks like both players are going to collapse on this left side of the map. And we have a ton of units coming out now. Finally, a support cruiser on the field for Elusive Man, and he's bringing his carrier forward. Going to start catching up in terms of economy, and it looks like Team 2 is starting to get a pretty scary number of units on the field here. Tons of missile ships, tons of assault ships, and LAVs with railguns for Elusive Man. Looks like they're going to try and push up here, do a little bit of a poke. They're going to see something they don't want to see, which is a ton of Soban railguns on the high ground. That is going to shut that down in short order.
LAV construction complete.
Scare them off.
Hostile contact marked.
Still nothing decisive yet at this point in the game. I'm going to try and get a ton of LAVs now onto the field to do a bit of screening and help me dump my CU bank a little bit.
Be advised, unit lost.
I do remember I advised getting early missile batteries for Greppy because I suspected a pretty big wing of interceptors, which is a very typical play for Matthias, but we have yet to see them in the air. In fact, if we click on his carrier, he does not have any interceptors in the hangar. Nice position though on these missile ships from Matthias. I want to point that out. Hiding them right here. Beautiful move. That's very, very nice. It's going to protect them from fire from all of my railguns on my high ground positions and allow them to shut down any airplay, which is not in the works. I've actually teched to assault cruisers. Got a couple of assault cruisers on the map right now. Start creeping forward with armed logistics modules. Not very much power into the systems yet, as we haven't been able to secure an artifact. And in fact, Elusive Man is going to grab a second artifact and try and get that onto the field. We have very early siege cruisers though. Look at this bad boy. Matthias has gone for very fast siege cruisers, and that's a very common move on this map because of the density and tightness of the terrain. Artillery is very, very strong in this map. Looks like we've got a little bit of fighting coming out on the, whoa, my camera, sorry about that, on the right side of the map. Matthias was trying to push in here with his assault ships, and he is going to meet my assault cruisers and some armed logistics modules. That is going to shut this down pretty hard. Pumping out more and more railguns, more and more assault cruisers, and a couple of AAVs. And it looks like I've decided it's time to push. We have got a macro game in a big way. Holy crap, Greppy. Look at this. I've been paying way too much attention to my side of the map, and now Greppy is pushing out. He does have some strike fighters in the air. That is probably not going to get too much work done. He is pushing out hard with his carrier and an absolute ton of railguns, forcing Elusive Man back in a big way. Meanwhile, I'm pushing up on the right side of the map. However, I'm going to run into some big trouble here because Matthias has got a bunch of siege cruisers behind his main fortification here. Missile ships on the high ground providing vision, and some assault ships screening for his siege cruisers, which is pretty nice. They're going to start putting fire on to my assault cruisers and force a bit of a retreat. I'm going to shut down Elusive Man's base runner. Am I? Looks like I might just ignore it. No, I'm going to shut it down. I've got a ton of railguns here. And Greppy, man, doing the Greppy push. He has shut down both of the third and the second of Elusive Man and forced him into a full retreat back to his main. But he is now going to get collapsed on by Matthias, leading with his assault ships, pouring enormous amounts of firepower in with his siege cruisers. Greppy's army is going to take massive punishment here, and he is going to be forced into retreat as well. But he has done a pretty significant amount of damage to Elusive Man and set him back. Looks like Team 1 is getting boxed in, but look at these huge artillery barrages coming in. Oh, brutal. Greppy's carrier is going to be down to like half damage, and the majority of his army is going to get absolutely wrecked. On the back of that, noticing that Matthias has been pushed out of position, I am going to push forward, try and put a bunch of fire down onto this production cruiser. However, I'm going to start eating a bunch of artillery barrages myself, trying to flank out this position of siege cruisers with my assault cruisers, but they are actually both going to go down. How many siege cruisers does Matthias have? 4 fucking siege cruisers. Good God, man. That's what saved their team's ass, actually. I've took some pretty brutal casualties, and so has Greppy, but he does not want to let this side of the map go. He does not want to allow Elusive Man to get a foothold in here, so he is just going to keep pushing forward, using just the brute force of his macro to keep this side of the map under pressure. He's eventually going to probably get cleaned up, though. There's too much artillery. He can't push into this, even though he does have max armor upgrades as well as the mag field accelerator. Look at this artillery fire. Oh, beautiful. Matthias is going to clean up Greppy's entire army, force him into a full retreat. He's going to have to come back here. He is now mining off of 4 resource locations, so his macro is going to be pretty uncontrollable. I am still trying to box in Matthias, pushing forward with my railguns, which are probably at this point going to get a little bit overextended. I'm going to try and force some of these siege cruisers to go down. Beautiful missile barrages coming out from those missile batteries. I'm going to clean up that support cruiser, which got overextended. Now these assault ships are going to push forward under the covering fire of all of these siege cruisers and force my railguns into a full retreat. Oof. Massive battles. I did shut down Matthias third for a little bit, but he is back up to 3 resource locations. And Elusive Man pumping out some railguns, going to try and secure his resource locations on the back of all of that damage. Now, thankfully, on the back of that fighting, both myself... Oh no, these are both mine. So I did pump out 2 base runners. On the back of all that fighting, I am going to secure 2 artifacts to put us in the lead for a 2-1. Am I, though? Maybe not. Look at this giant army from Matthias. We have got 12 assault ships, 4 siege cruisers, and 4 missile batteries. What do we got for armor upgrades? We have got 2, I believe that is.
Enemy armor inbound.
2 armor upgrades. No, that might be full armor upgrades for those guys. Big targeting jammer, going to slow those assault ships down big time, but they're just going to storm it. I'm going to lose this base runner here in a big way. Let's check this army out of Matthias's, man. Pretty damn impressive. This is a savage army. Very, very scary. Coalition or Galician artillery is terrifying, man. And now Matthias's counterattack is going to put a significant amount of pressure onto Greppi. I've got some artillery cruisers of my own, which is taking up position in mid. I'm going to start pouring fire onto these siege cruisers. And Greppi has got some assault cruisers of his own now, and he's going to send them in and start trying to clean up a bunch of these assault ships, which is going to be a pretty nice move here. Going to put a ton of damage out onto these assault ships, but eating a bunch of fire from these siege cruisers. What's going on over here? I'm going to try and get a flank out with a couple of assault cruisers of my own backed up by railguns onto this position. Take down 1 siege cruiser, 2 siege cruisers even, 3 even go down. So pretty nice concerted push by Greppi and myself. Oh, those were all Greppi's assault cruisers. So he has got 6 assault cruisers. I've got 2 support cruisers up front and 2 artillery cruisers. And now that Matthias's army has been almost entirely destroyed, we're going to try and force him back. He is back up to 2 siege cruisers though, and trying to grab another artifact that is going to get shut down. So both our second artifacts and Team 1's second artifacts are going to get shut down. Greppi moving his carrier into a forward position in the middle of the map and just spamming out assault cruisers. Going to get them right on top of the combined forces of Matthias and Elusive Man. Push them back big time. That's going to allow me to push up under the covering fire of my artillery. We are going to shut down Matthias's second. Going to come under heavy, heavy fire here. But can we crack this position? That is the question. Galician siege cruisers are so terrifying. I don't know what the fuck I was doing with my support cruisers. A little bit of bad micro there, getting them right in front to try and regenerate the hit points on my assault cruisers and let them tank some damage while I get railguns onto this high ground position here. Under the covering fire of my own artillery, shut down Matthias's third. At least I'm going to try to. Or his second. This is his second. His third has been shut down.
Railgun destroyed. Displaced. Railgun under fire.
Oof. Transitioning now into heavy railguns, which is a nice move by Matthias. He is just going to camp out on this top spot. Look at this ballsy push from Greppi though. Mass LAVs, bunch of assault cruisers. He's just brute forcing his way in here. But with an immaculate defense, Matthias is going to use his carrier, some missile ships, some heavy railguns, and these siege cruisers to good effect and slow this push down. Elusive Man has moved his carrier sorely out of position. There's nothing here to protect his main, and a massive swarm of LAVs are going to get right in here, start cleaning up all of Elusive Man's railguns, and they're going to start running amok behind the lines of Team 1. Is it too late? Can Team 1 come back from this? That is the question. Look at all this artillery fire. Oh, ouch. Cleans up a couple of railguns. Sticking with assault cruisers, artillery cruisers, and railguns. Well, Greppi has transitioned back into LAVs and railguns, which is not a bad move. I've overextended myself big time here, tanking damage with this carrier and allowing these siege cruisers. He just constantly keeps pumping out siege cruisers. His carrier is going to eat a couple of artillery hits now, but that's going to allow him to clean up pretty much the rest of my army. All my assault cruisers go down, and all my railguns go down, so I'm starting to bleed out pretty heavily now. The only thing I've got left is these 2 artillery cruisers. That is going to force Matthias's carrier back. Pretty nice flank, though, coming out from Greppy. Going to clean up a bunch of these salvagers. Put some damage out, but they, in turn, are going to take an enormous amount of damage. Look at all of these heavy railguns and assault cruisers. They're going to walk right into my artillery barrages, though. Oh. Pretty damn nice. However, a nice flank coming out, actually, from some LAVs from Elusive Man. And they're going to get right on top of my artillery cruisers, scout for Matthias's siege cruisers, which are going to start putting some serious damage in. I'm going to retreat, pretty much a full retreat coming out from my artillery cruisers, but with the heavy railguns. Having sighted them, am I going to be able to survive? Oh, just barely. That push allowed Team 2 to push out again and forced us both off. And Greppy has abandoned his side of the map with his carrier. What have I got? What is that? That's a gunship? Gunship coming out. Oh, a tactical bomber. Nice tactical bomber play with some strike fighters. Unfortunately, that is going to push Matthias back yet again. Put out a ton of damage. 2 of his siege cruisers go down. But look at this nice move, bringing his missile ships and production cruisers out onto the front line. And that is going to shut down all of my airplay. Poof. Greppy is actually going to start mining now from Matthias's third. I'm going to have to get a drink of water as things calm down a little bit in this game.
Light attack vehicle online. Hostile contact marked.
Is Elusive Man going to find out that this side of the map has been abandoned, and is he going to push and crush Greppy's economy? Because that would be an ideal move.
Enemy sighted.
Try and keep scouting. It's still tied 1-1. I'm going to try and grab another artifact, see if that happens. Spam some LAVs and continue on with artillery production and strike fighters. We do have artillery cruisers up now from Greppy. They're going to start pouring fire into Matthias's position. Try and force him back. I am going to force my way into the sky with some strike fighters. Get them over here and start putting some fire onto all of these railguns. Strike fighters, force them back, but we do have support cruiser anti-air up for Elusive Man, so that is going to protect all of these railguns. Matthias even responding by bringing his anti-air over onto this side of the field. Very nice play. Going to clear up most of my strike fighters. They are going to go down. I'm going to try and sneak this base runner in. Is it going to work? The answer is probably no. I'm going to try and also get a flank of LAVs out to get on top of those railguns in the high ground. Those are going to get caught out by some of Matthias's assault ships. And Elusive Man not going to get pushed off. He's going to bring his railguns down. And a screen of LAVs backed up by a support cruiser going to take down this base runner yet again, keeping it tied at 1-1. This team has to know now that Greppy has abandoned his side of the map. How many artillery cruisers does he? 8 artillery cruisers. What the fuck? So we might have a base trade situation going from this side, because Greppy has abandoned his side of the map. Matthias has spotted it. There is no way that he can push out here. There are too many artillery cruisers. We do have some strike fighters now for Greppy, and I am transitioning into some AAVs and railguns and LAVs. Going to try and get some scouting and screening done with my LAVs. See the position of Elusive Man's forces. He is up to 3 bases though. He is doing pretty good now. Or pardon me, his main has mined out, so he is mining off of 2 resource locations. Matthias mining off of 1, which is soon to be 0, because he is under way too much artillery fire. And so much artillery fire. What's the answer going to be? The answer is going to be LAVs from Elusive Man, apparently. And look at this artillery fire. This is what I remembered about this game, is it was pretty insane slog. Even a couple of artillery cruisers going down to some friendly fire, as well as a nice flank of LAVs. Just going to suicide themselves in here to get some vision, get some scouting done, try and clean up a couple of artillery cruisers if you can, which is a pretty nice move because the auto fire on the artillery cruisers will target them and will do friendly fire to your own units, which is pretty nice. They are eventually going to get cleaned up, but they're going to dislodge myself and Greppy just enough for Elusive Man to just keep getting his macro underway. Railguns now coming through mid to try and put some pressure onto Elusive Man's side of the map. Going to start pumping out some railguns screened by AAVs, flanked with LAVs to try and scout. The thing is, Elusive Man has himself in a nice little defensible pocket here. Matthias has pretty much been wiped out, and Greppy and I are just going to try and close jaws. I think it would have been a good move for one of these two players to just abandon their side of the map. Probably Matthias, because he has the Galcian carrier. He can put all the power into speed. He should have just abandoned this and ran over here and killed this, and just rampaged through all of our resources. But as it stands, it looks like we are slowly just going to close the jaws of death. Matthias's carrier goes down to sustained artillery fire. And let's check out this battle. Looks like Elusive Man has not much longer to live. We've got mass artillery raining down on him, as well as a bunch of Soban railguns taking up a high ground firing position on the dune here, getting some screening done from these LAVs and AAVs. With a bead on the target, Elusive Man is going to be forced into a full retreat. Strike fighters even in the sky now, adding their missile fire into the carrier's fracturing hull. Carrier is going to go down, and we are going to take that game. But it was very, very difficult. Matthias and Elusive Man definitely made us sweat numerous points throughout the game. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. I wanted to get it casted because it's been sitting there for a long time, and I do remember it being a good one. So leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and I will see you guys for the next game.